Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to Don't Forget to Tap, the story of me being really bad at jiu-jitsu and getting to highlight and share the cool stories of other people and hopefully getting to rub off some of their jiu-jitsu magic onto me and maybe I won't suck so bad tomorrow. But with that being said, I'm super excited. I'm very fortunate. I'm thankful for his patience for being willing to do this and just navigate around crazy schedules and hurricanes and everything else. But without further ado, I want to introduce a good friend of mine and talk about what he's doing. Tyler Ross, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, man. Happy to be here.
Absolutely. So, you've been training jujitsu for a while now, and you've had your story with it and everything. But tell me what got you started.
So I grew up wrestling. I was too short for our basketball team in middle school, and I went to try out in this for the basketball team, and essentially one of the coaches just looked at me and said, "Hey, son, I don't think you should waste your time." And I was very, upset. And I walked outside and walked out of the gym, and I bumped into my Sunday school teacher, and he could tell I was upset. And I told him what happened, and he said, "Well, Tyler, you should come with me and we'll just walk over here to where I'm starting wrestling tryouts, and there's only 10 kids and there was 12 weight classes." So he said, "You've already got a spot if you want it." So that was sixth grade. And then I wrestled through my junior year. Um, and I always just enjoyed it. It just helped me deal with a lot of stuff. And I didn't realize how much I would need it until later in life. Of like, not everything's a 10. Being able to handle adverse situations, keep your head, know that things are going to be okay. If you're going to be all right, you're going to get through it. Um, so I graduated high school and went to work, and then the recession hit, and I was very fortunate that I'd already got into Western Carolina University and finished out with a bachelor's of science degree and started working. And I was always looking for somewhere to go train. Like, I'd always wanted to get into jujitsu, and a buddy of mine, there was a guy that had a gym in a town close to us, but it's still about an hour and 10 minutes from me. So that was a difficult drive to make. And then I had one bad experience at a gym. Just everybody has a bad experience sometimes. There's bad actors. I won't give them a lot of credit, but it deterred me for a little bit. And then Josh came and Jess Trampus, and they started Gracie Ball Asheville. I want to say it was late 2018. And then I took about a year to actually commit and get to it because I was still working in a county next to us. I had two little boys, and I needed to make sure finances were okay before I decided to start training. So um, I started in December of 2019. I went to my first intro class, and it was immediate. I went to the intro class, and I was ready to sign up, and we left to go on a mule deer hunt in Arizona. And when we got on the plane on January 4th, 2020, um, one of my buddies wasn't feeling too good, and I felt terrible. I just did not feel well at all. And then we got out to Arizona, hunted for a few days. Nobody felt any better. And then we heard this word called COVID, and we were like, what's that? And one of us went to the doctor while we were there, and the diagnosis was unknown respiratory illness. And so we came home. Um, I was actually on the phone with Josh, getting ready to come down to the gym, and he was saying, "Hey, we might need to slow down." They're talking about the governor of North Carolina, Roy Cooper, was talking about shutting the state down essentially. So the county I worked for had actually already closed stuff, and we were working like an EOC essentially. And then it wasn't long after that they shut down everything. Everything was closed. And then I remember the world was starting to come back somewhat online. Like, they were saying, "Hey, June, we're going to start letting people, not start letting people do stuff, but June, we're going to start lifting some of this stuff." And May, so it was that Memorial Day weekend of 2020, I did the Murph Challenge. I'd done it probably, I don't know, 6 years in a row at that point, or however long. It was really just a cool thing to do. And I had a pain in my right ulna, and I was like, man, that's weird. I'd felt something kind of there before, but I thought it was from like a kettlebell hitting it or something stupid I'd done. So I went to help my wife's aunt move, and I grabbed the back of a futon like this with my left hand and put this hand up in the back of a U-Haul. And I grabbed, and when I picked up right here, it went pow, and the bone just snapped. And so we went to the urgent care, they x-rayed it, and on the bone, it showed this big black spot that looked like Swiss cheese. And the doctor at the urgent care said he thought it was like there was a big, it looked like there was just like a big bubble around it, and it was like he called it. He said it's like calcium deposit, to where your arm fractured itself and your body started trying to heal it. So that's what this is. And I was like, okay. I was like, he's a doctor. So he said, but I can't do anything else with it. You need to go see a hand specialist because of how close it is to your wrist. And I went to a specialist that Monday morning, sat down in his office. He walked in, looked at the x-ray, and turned around, got the nurse, and walked back out. The nurse walks back in, and she's like got tears in her eyes. And I was like, okay, this is really weird. Like, um, I was like, lady, I just met you. I didn't know I'd had this much of an impact on you. But um, she she came in and she said, honey, whatever you need, just let us know. And I was like, man, that's weird. And then the doctor walked back in there, and he looked at me. He said, young man, I've been doing this for 40 years. He said, I can count on one hand how many times I've seen that x-ray. And I was like, what is it? And he goes, that's a tumor. And then he explained to me what was going on. And he said, I referred you to a specialist with Mission Hospital up here in Nashville. His name's Dr. Donald Gajewski. And I was like, all right. So I got going down the road, and I was like, something just felt weird. So I Googled him, and he's an orthopedic oncologist. And I was like, there's only one reason you go to an oncologist. So I called that doctor back, the hand doctor, and he said, son, I think it is malignant. He said, but Dr. G is probably one of the best, if not the best there is. And he's right. He's phenomenal. He's the best. Retired from the Army. Um, was at Walter Reed for a while with their oncology program, was over the Intrepid program in San Antonio. Just one of the greatest human beings that's ever walked the face of this earth. And I'm very fortunate that everything happened the way it did. God had a big plan for all of it. There's a lot before, there's so much during, and there's so much going on after that, just the hands of providence. And I got to meet Dr. Gajewski. I walked in, he looked at me, and he said, it is a malignant tumor. We're going to do a biopsy. He said, there's 3 different ones we want it to be, or there's 3 different ones it could be. We're okay if it's this one. We don't want it to be this one. And the one he didn't want it to be was osteosarcoma. And so I went, I guess it took about 5 days for the biopsy to come back. Went back to his office on June 18th. He looked at me, and it was COVID, so he had his mask on. And like I could see tears in his eyes, and he just said, son, unfortunately, it's osteosarcoma. And osteosarcoma has, it's a very weird bone cancer. It's prevalent in kids and elderly people, but in my demographic, it's not very prevalent, and it is a comparable demographic to me is African American men of my age group, but they get it in long bones, so they don't get it in anything like your ulna. So it was all really really weird. Um, and he said, but fortunately, the leading one of the leading oncologists in the world for sarcomas is in Wake Forest. His name's Dr. Savage, and he fits the name 100%. Great man, um, very good at what he does, and there's so many funny stories with Dr. Savage. But anyway, I went down there. He looked at me and he said, "We've got to get you into treatment within the week." He said, "If your community hospital back home can't start treatment, you need to come back down here." And I was like, well, how big of a deal is it for me to wait months? And he said, if you wait months, you're not going to live 2 years. He said, where you're at, based off of everything I've seen, we've got weeks to start the chemo. However, He's like, I can never give you a bill of health of cure, and I can't ever say you're in remission. You're in a constant. The goal is for you to stay in a constant state of no evidence of disease. And he said, and I think I can get you there, but we got to start. So I went. That was on the 18th, or no, that was on the 19th of June. The 18th, I got diagnosed. The 19th, the next day, I was down there in Wake Forest. And we had an appointment Monday morning at a local cancer center here. And that was who's going to oversee my treatment. I go in, the doctor looks at me and says, yeah, we can get you on the list and we can probably get you started in the next 2 months. And I said, ma'am, I don't have 2 months. I was told I got to go, like it's got to happen. And if you guys can't do it, I got to start figuring out how we're going to change, our life and go down to Wake Forest and, or Winston-Salem, I'm sorry. And she looked at me and she said, well, let me go call Dr. Savage because he's pretty much going to run this. And she was outside on the phone for 15 minutes and she walked back in and she said, you'll have a bed at Mission Hospital starting on the 24th of June. So I was diagnosed on the 18th. 6 days later, I was getting my first round of chemo. And I did 8 cycles that were 4 to 6 weeks long each one. And that was all inpatient because the doses were lethal. And then they had to go in. I don't know if you can see the scar. That was where the tumor was. That's where it broke with all this
It's
right
it's
here.
it's a little blurry, but I can see like the silhouette of it.
Yeah, so that looks like a shadow, but that's actually the scar.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
yeah. So they went in, got the tumor out, and that was in October. But I started chemo June 24th, so I had to do essentially, I think, right at 4 rounds before they did the surgery of the MAP regimen. They took it out, and then I finished out the remaining 4 treatments cycles in May 6th of 2021, a day after my 36th birthday. Um, I finished
Wow.
I finished chemo. So that entire time I'd be sitting there watching like on YouTube, like when you got time, man, like there's rabbit holes to chase. And YouTube was, I finally found the end of the internet, I thought, but I just started watching like all these different, things about jujitsu, grappling. I've always been a big UFC guy. And I just remember sitting there watching. One of the things I watched a lot was Tap Cancer Out. And it was February of 2021. I said, I don't know how long it'll take, but I will be competing in a tournament as soon as I can. And I got out in May. They made me keep a port in right here, so I couldn't train. I had to keep that port in till they wanted me to keep it in for a year, but I was able to convince them to let it out in November. So then after I got it out the end of November, I had to wait 10 days. So it was December of 2022 or 2021, 2 years after I'd started, I got to go back out. And wouldn't you know, that was the first time I got COVID. Was my first time back out on the mat. I got sick, and then I came back in January and April 2022. I competed in the Tap Cancer Out down in Charlotte. I went to Josh and I said, "Hey,"
Wow.
I was like, "Man, I want to compete and I want to do this tournament. Do you think I'll be ready?" He said, "Yeah, you'll be ready." I was like, "Do you think I'll do all right?" He goes, "Probably not, but you'll be ready." I was like, "All right." So, and then yeah, so I was on and off the mat. Had a few other things happen. They found 2 more cancers, 2 carcinomas last September, so they had to go in and cut them out. And I was only out off the mat for like 15 days. But we broke in my arm right here. They got a cadaver bone and titanium plate, and we broke them in July of 22. So I had to go in, and they had to do a bone graft. So take off the iliac crest right here, then
Yeah.
go and do a bone graft. And I was out for about 3 months at that point. So it was, man, it's been awesome though. It's what's amazing is from wrestling, and I think I've increased it from jujitsu, is like there'd be days where I'd be laying in there getting chemo and I'd be speaking beluga, to the toilet. And I just feel really, really bad. There was a lot of bad things like mucositis where your mouth has like really bad sores. And I think what helped me, obviously, my faith was probably the biggest cornerstone of why I was fine. But the other thing that really, really came through was remembering those times in the mat room with 2.5 to 3 hour practices, or being in some of the tournaments and some of the wrestling matches in the quads, knowing that this is a very difficult time, but I'm going to be okay. It's going to be all right. It'll all be over. And just that mental fortitude that I had from my time on the mat. And then um, after I got to get back out on the mat and remembering, you know, there's a lot of times where I'm going to put myself in bad situations and it's going to be okay, but now I can tap and get out of them. But um, how that translated over to my, day to day was when to tap, how much I got in me, nothing stupid, but like just, I guess, in the uh, metaphorical sense of like sometimes life's going to throw a lot of stuff at you and you got a lot more in you than you need to realize before you got to tap. So, um, but yeah, it's been awesome. It's been a lot of fun. And once I got out, I just wanted to train everywhere I went. Um, I didn't realize that cross training was a cool thing until I started training, and our instructor, he would go to other gyms, and everybody in our area, they knew each other that was in the jiu-jitsu community. And so I was like, man, I just want to go test out some other places. So I went down to Orlando and went to a Gracie Bar down there, Gracie Bar Claremont. It's amazing. Um, and then I was in New York with my buddy, and we were in Manhattan, and I couldn't find anywhere to train. I Googled Brazilian Jiu Jitsu near me, and so many gyms popped up. And I started going through their websites, and I started going through all their stuff, trying to find a consistent schedule, class information, all the other things. And I'd fill out forms. I'd go on their Instagram, their Facebook, and message them. I'd call the number, I'd text the number, and only a few would reach back out to me. But I found that like a lot of the stuff didn't match. So eventually I called my professor Josh and I said, hey, do you know anywhere up here? He's like, you're not far from Marcelo's gym. So I called Marcelo's, and I don't know how I missed them, but I called them and I went, they picked up the phone and they had everything laid out for me. Their website was good. And I was like, there's something to this. And so I was back down in Orlando on a different side, and I was looking for a gym, and same thing happened. It was difficult to find a lot of consistent information. Charleston, it happened again. And so I'd written out like, man, it'd be cool to have an app or a website that helps people navigate through this. And I was involved in another startup that's still around, but we had a meeting with a guy that helps small businesses get started in North Carolina. We're very fortunate; they really invest a lot in small businesses in our state. And we were meeting with Bob, and I was staying after, and he just asked me if I had any other, because he knew I was an entrepreneurial guy. Like I just, I wanted, that's the realm I like to be in. And he just said, you got anything else you're working on? And so I just said, well, here's what I got. And I wrote it back out on a piece of paper for him. And he looked at it and he said, I think you got something. So we did a business plan. We did a couple feasibility studies. And then it came out to where um, start looking for software and developing software. So that's how Fighter's Passport was born. Yeah.
So that's pretty incredible, and this one hits home for me in a lot of ways. First off, going backwards a little bit and I'll work forward. Your story is incredible.
Yeah.
We touched base, and I didn't know all of that, so just hearing that for the first time, wow. And I've met a lot of people with a lot of circumstances with life and jujitsu, but it never fails to amaze me the human spirit. And so, man, just my hat's off to you, absolutely,
Yeah.
and congrats on getting through those dark chapters. I know your faith was a big part of that. Jiu-jitsu played its role. I know family probably played a big part of that. But so glad that you're here, man, and so glad that we get to have this conversation and talk about jiu-jitsu and everything, because
Uh,
it's such a big deal in so many people's lives.
yeah, man. Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu. That's how I make it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm pretty sure in my million coffee mugs I have a coffee mug that actually says that I reserve for Sundays.
There you
Um,
go.
but
Awesome.
but yeah, so this one, when I found out what you were doing and when we first kind of talked and everything, I looked into it. I did a little bit of investigating, and I'm not shy about talking about, I'm in the military. I try not to go in depth with it too much or anything because that's a whole different world and this is a different world. But one of the unique experiences, why I think this is so relatable and it's so cool, is a big part of what I do is I travel the nation, and I'm not going to bases. I'm actually going out into the community where there are no bases. A lot of times it's out in the middle of nowhere. But jujitsu, since it's become a passion of mine over the last couple of years, one of the challenges is finding a place to go. And I won't say the state and I won't say the city because that's not respectful. And I always try to keep respect intact. But one of the most recent experiences I had not that long ago, for the most part, I have a really good experience. But I did have an experience where I went out and I reached out to the gym. They actually had a pretty good website. They didn't have a great social media, but I was optimistic. And I didn't, sometimes there's drop-in fees, which no issue or anything like that. But I couldn't get the information I was looking for. I couldn't get someone to pick up the phone. It was a little bit of a challenge. So I get out there and I'm in this community I don't know whatsoever. And I just took the address and I asked the person at the front desk of the hotel, I was like, hey, have you ever heard of this before? And they looked at me like a deer in the headlights. And clearly I don't even think they knew what jiu-jitsu was. So I was like speaking a foreign language. And I get out there and I end up at an Ashley furniture store and there was like nothing else around. And I was like, I don't know what to do with this. Like, is it in the Ashley? You know what I mean? Is it in the
Yeah.
Ashley furniture? I'm willing to try this. Like, and long story short, it was not in the Ashley furniture store. I found that out the hard way. Um, but so I can relate. It's so funny because if anyone can relate, I've traveled. I'm nobody in jiu-jitsu, but I work allows me to travel, and I cross train when I do as much as I can. And I've gone to so many states. I mean, so many states to train. But one of the challenges, like you said, is finding places, knowing the rules, what to expect, all that stuff. So what you're doing is really useful because there's so many people that I train with alone. Military is a huge jiu-jitsu community, and we travel. And so talk a little bit more about that. What does that look like?
Yeah. So the premise of the app is I built it. I started out as building it from the standpoint of an athlete, just trying to go find a gym to train at. But then I partnered with a fantastic company, and we did customer discovery. So we went and reached out to a bunch of gym owners, and we actually found that the problem that a lot of shared experiences with gyms is one guy. Actually, there was multiple. They said the same thing: is we got into this to teach jujitsu, not to become WordPress professionals. And I was like, I didn't think anything of that. And then one guy was like, I shouldn't be worried about an algorithm to make sure that my business is good. And I was sitting there, I was like, okay, yeah, that makes total sense. So it started out from the standpoint of being able to go find the information about the gym, just real basic information, and then the athlete getting all that information, knowing what's close to them, being able to RSVP, let the gym know they're coming, sign the waiver, and if there's a process or there's a pay or a drop in fee, they could pay that drop in fee. And so it's morphed past that a good bit. Now gyms are able to go in and put a lot of information about themselves, their amenities, their lineage, their staff, put in a detailed calendar with classes. Um, they'll be able to eventually, one of the things we're working on is gyms will be able to use our software and our app to help coordinate with seminars, and setting things up for that. Also, a way for them to look and see when someone RSVPs that they're coming, they'll be able to see what belt they are. So for our gym, we follow the curriculum, the 16-week curriculum, but there are classes where we'll have a lot more advanced students. So Dakota and Josh are able to adjust for that. So Dakota was like, "Man, if I was able to know this soon enough, like before, that would help me change up a little bit to where we could go do some fun stuff." So right now, the way it looks is if you're like, let's say you're going somewhere, you can use Fighter's Passport. You can create an athlete profile on it. It's super easy. You literally go in there, sign in with Google or Facebook. It'll pop up. You click on your picture, and you'll go and put your information in. It's first name, last name, um, your email address, and your number. You don't have to put your number in. You need to put an email address in, but you can keep it private. So eventually, when folks are able to look at your profile, they won't be able to see that. Um, then you put in your expertise, what your rank is, where you're at, and that's it. And then once that's done, you're able to go look through the database of gyms we have. So we have about 6,000 gyms in the database, but
Holy
not all
crap.
of those. Well, I got not all of them have been verified or updated. So
Okay.
we've got we need, we're trying to get out to gyms and say, hey, come in here, give me 20 minutes, and I'll walk you through. I'll show you how to do it, or there's a way we can do it for you. There's a way we can maintain it for them, stuff like that. But just trying to get the word out to those gyms because, like, if anyone ever pulls up our app and they tap in Asheville, North Carolina, it'll pop up and you'll see Gracie Ball Asheville. You'll probably see a couple of the other gyms that are done up here, and you'll be able to click on it and see all the information about that in the gym. And then you'll be able to click on a class you want, RSVP on that class. And then another feature we have for athletes is now it's more of a training accountability, to where you're able to set up a training goal. So it's nothing too wild, but it's pretty cool. It's in 7 days, 30 days, and 90-day increments. So it's like 2 days, 3 days, or 4 days, and 7 days is a training goal. 12, 16, 20 in a 30-day goal, and then another one that's set up for 90, and I can't remember what it is, and I
Wow.
just embarrassed myself. But you're able to go in there and track that and keep it going to where you have more of an accountability thing. And we're looking at in the future expanding on that, offering up some more things we're working on. But here in the next few weeks, folks will be able to go in, and now as an athlete, you can go in there, you can see the gym. If they have a waiver available for you, you can digitally sign that waiver. So that's a step that's gone when you get to the gym. Um, you'll be able to go ahead and pay the drop-in fee. That way that's done when you get there. So you can get there, meet your instructor, meet the professor, get out on the mat. We have two sayings. One of them I'm going to give credit to our resident Brazilian at our gym. Um, sorry, she came up with us, or she sent me an email or a text or a message on Instagram while looking at one of my reels that I'd done for a fighter's passport, and it just said more rolling, less scrolling, and I was like, yes, sister. And then the other thing is more mat time, less screen time. So that's what we're trying to do is kind of like curtail that for the folks to where they can get out in the gym, spend more time doing what they want to do and what they love. And then also the place that we have all the information for the gym, it's really an easy area for them to put all that information in, maintain that information. Right now, all we have is ratings that individuals or athletes can leave for the gym. They can leave an individual rating, like 5 stars, and they can favorite a gym. And then eventually they'll get to the point of being able to take that and then, sorry, my son just walked in.
That's okay. It's okay. I got
Yep.
dogs and everything that always, it's inevitable they're going to end up in this at some point.
Absolutely. Yes. Okay. So then eventually they'll be able to leave actual reviews talking about the gym. And the reason we did that is a great example is our gym. This happened the other day. A lady in Asheville saw a dude wearing a Gracie Ball shirt, and he was eating or doing something in a restaurant. She didn't like it. And so she gave us a 1 star rating, and it had nothing to do with the gym. And she wrote on there, I saw one of your students and like something. And wait, here's the other thing. This dude probably wasn't even a student. Like when she described what was happening, I was like, that's not one of our people. And it was just
Huh.
really, really odd, man. And it's just like we've had so many things, and then you go and you like for a good time, go read reviews from gyms and look at how many of those reviews are not from people that attend that gym, people that have ever gone to that gym, and have
Yep.
anything to do with jujitsu. It's insanity. So we're trying to close that to where folks will be able to review gyms that they actually attend. And
Yep.
then the gyms are able to, like, if there is an issue, they're able to actually respond and discuss. And it's not going to be like smearing or anything like that. But that's our goal, is just to really set up a place to really just to give people the ability to expand their jujitsu community. Like there's people that I've trained with in Myrtle Beach, in Florida, in New York that I still talk with a good bit on Instagram. Um, and they check in like we went through this hurricane. One of the dudes that I rolled with down in Myrtle Beach, he messaged me multiple times to make sure we are okay.
That's
Like
awesome.
so it's a really cool community, and I just really hope that that's what this app leads to, is people being able to expand their community. Because we were at Jiu-Jitsu Con, and when you get to like things that are heavy with fitness folks, especially convention, you're used to seeing dudes walking around with invisible wheelbarrows, um, and just very stuck on themselves. That was not the way of it there, man. Like, it was just a big, big, big community of people that were just, you know, there for the same reasons, becoming better versions of themselves and becoming better human beings. And, you know, um, yeah,
Jiu-Jitsu is just like the coolest community of people. Like I'm
yeah,
convinced. Like there's some one-offs. Like I'll give them that and everything. Everybody has them, but it's
yeah.
just like the coolest community of people. Like it's weird people, but it's like the best kind of weird people.
Oh, dude. So my business partner, who I was actually with in New York, Joshua, came on to help me do all this. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to do it. And he went with us to Jiu-Jitsu Con and World Masters. And Dakota, our instructor, he was with us. And Joshua was like, "Man, I'm just blown away by the people that are here." And Dakota's like, "Yeah, we're pretty much just all a bunch of nerds that could choke you out pretty quick or break your
Yep.
arm, but just a bunch of nerds, good wholesome nerds." That's what he called them, good
So,
wholesome nerds.
somebody gave me this analogy one time and it stuck. Like I can't unsee it. But somebody said that jujitsu people the best personality, if they were to put a jujitsu personality on like a superhero or a persona, they'd put it on Peter Parker. Like he's this really
Yeah,
skinny nerd that has
yep,
this weird alternate persona that no one sees coming. and
yep, yeah.
and
No,
I was
that's the
like,
truth.
that makes sense. So that's perfect. Getting into Fighter's Passport, I think that's so cool. And in fact, I'm gonna give a plug for you because we're approaching the holidays, and I myself am gonna be traveling. I have an upcoming move with the military, and everyone, this is like the season of travel. I would encourage anyone that watches this, checks this out on social media, go check this out, try it, use it on your holiday travels instead of doing with the in-laws. Go train, and I say that respectfully. If you like your in-laws, that's great. But but like this is the time to try it. This is such a cool opportunity from the military perspective. My military friends, you're gonna go travel. It's inevitable. So this is something really cool for you guys wherever you go to kind of put it together because the military, much like jiu-jitsu, it brings together a community, and so when those worlds cross, it's always phenomenal. So I encourage anyone that is approaching this holiday season, this would be like the best time to try something like this, and going forward you'll always have this tool in your pocket. Couple of questions for you, if you don't mind, just to kind
Yeah.
of make sure that I've got a good friend that I met through jujitsu, through Instagram, ironically. He opened a school down in Pensacola, Florida, Freedom Jiu Jitsu. I'm gonna get him on here at some point. You always see me wearing one of his shirts. He's such a great guy, and I'm a big believer in his school and what he's doing, and just the work he's putting in to do it. If he wanted to get this school registered on that, and anybody that wants to get their school registered, how do they do that?
So you can go to the website, fighterspassport.com. You can also email me, Tyler at fighterspassport.com, and we'll help out anybody we can. But the quickest, best way, in my opinion, is you go to the website, you click on, there's going to be a thing where it'll say school sign up or student sign up. You'll click on it, and it'll come in for the school sign up. It'll be a form. It's just letting me know what school you are. Because if there's one already in there, I just have to assign it to you and I give the email. But if it's one that's got to be created, I just got to go in and put in the basic information, and then I'll send a reply back to them. And then honestly, it's probably about, depending on the school size, it's going to be on average about 30 minutes to complete it. And then it's free. It's free to the gyms. We also have it set up to where when gyms people pay for their drop-in fees, the gym's not paying any extra transaction fee or anything like that. It's just going to be included in what the customer's paying. And so, because I know the other thing I found while I was doing the customer discovery is, man, gyms get hit for a lot, and the cost for marketing that these gyms get, like, dude. And I have another business where we had to go through that, and we had folks sit that out to us. And then I also have a creative company on the side, and I've seen the numbers that some of these gyms get thrown for building a website, doing social media, doing content creation, and I'm like, how can you afford to do that?
So,
And still like you're taking away their ability to hire more staff and do more things for the amenities to increase the amount of people that come to their gym. So it's you know it's interesting, and that's why we developed it the way we did. But yeah, if someone wants to sign up their gym, just fill out that form or email me, Tyler at Fighters Passport. Find me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, wherever. I'm very easy to find, and I'll happily help them get set up.
awesome. And I'm assuming if like after this, I'm immediately going to make a profile on this. I would go to the same website and register as an athlete.
Yep, there's another thing when you go to the website, it'll pop up and it'll say student sign up. You'll click on that, and that'll take you straight to the app. Or if you just want to go straight to the app, it's app.fighterspassport.com,
Okay.
and it's a web-based app. So we did the web-based. I'll get to that in a minute, but it's a web-based app. You'll go there, and it'll have you two sign-in options. It'll be Google or Facebook. We have other sign-in options that we'll be bringing eventually, but you go on, you sign in through that, and that'll populate a lot of what you need for your profile. Then you click on your stuff, and it'll go through there. If you go to any of my social media accounts, it'll show you the reels of how to do a lot of this stuff.
Sorry, hold on. It for some reason it interrupted, but we're good. You
Okay.
can still hear me okay?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Okay, sorry about that. But
You're good.
um it that's the only downfall is like anything that interrupts it. But we'll
Oh,
put it
good.
all together and make it look good and pretty and everything. But
Yeah, I'm not worried about it.
um so with that, I'm 100% gonna get on this. I'm gonna go do it immediately, and when I share this, I'll make sure I include that link and everything, so it's real easy for people. I'll make it as easy as I can for people to find it and everything.
Absolutely.
I think that's so cool. I really think that's unique. I think it's something that's needed. I've again from my personal experience and just talking with a lot of people out there when they travel and train, perfect time to do it and everything. What's your long-term vision with it?
So I started. I don't know, man. Like it changes, and I know what I want it to do. Like the goal is to increase community for jujitsu and getting more people into the space, just to train, and really like the benefits that come from it. So that's like the long term goal is just to whatever it looks like. The vision for it, it goes between some form of either possibly like a social media platform, maybe, and also like looking at doing like maybe an e-com store with a bunch of different gear that's for jiu-jitsu athletes, judo guys as well. But then also having more stuff for the user, for the athlete, to where they can really document their journey. You know, look at their training, really evaluate some stuff, and like pretty much make an app for the hobbyist to the high level hobbyist to the competitor to the professional, to the instructor to the gym owner, like trying to make it to where it gets everybody, and it's just not a niche within a niche, a niche within whatever that word is, however you say it, but not just a limited group of people for all of them, that are
Yeah.
engaged in this space.
And with that, I guess because you hit on it a little bit and talking about like tournaments and competing, do you foresee putting like tournaments, like getting tournaments registered in it as well, so people can see maybe not just like comp nets, but like other things happening around them too?
I'd love to. I'd love to have the ability to come in and register for tournaments. There's also a couple of the destination things that folks do, like going to buy, like register and get all that stuff squared away. And another thing, like I'd really like to do, is set it up for the instructors and the professors to where it's an easy way for them to schedule privates, and if they want to have privates paid through that way, that works too. Um, so yeah, there's just man, there's just a lot. Like I've got a board that's written out with like what I want for the goals, and it's just I think, man, that's what's so cool about it is there's just a lot of opportunity.
No, absolutely. And I know I keep expanding on the opportunity. Just kick me in the shins if you need me to
No, you're
stop. But
good.
but you also mentioned like judo. Do you see this being like kind of like a cross discipline, like judo, getting some Muay Thai? opening this
Yes,
up so people can find other disciplines as well?
yes, sir. That's the plan. Include all those folks, and then also, I've talked to a couple people in the boxing realm. Like boxing gyms are starting to make a resurgence, and apparently they're open to cross training, which is really cool. So when someone's traveling, they could go hop into another gym. I've heard like a couple of the catch wrestling places they're starting to increase, and like so just expand it to a lot of the grapplings, and it's a lot of the martial arts that are just open to cross training. Um, so absolutely, I am a okay with doing that, and I also want to do it internationally. Like that's a big goal that I've set for myself, and I'd love to have it happen. Like I had a goal of summer of 2025. Um, Now that might just be international to other English speaking countries, and then we'll go to Portuguese and then to Spanish, just because uh, I didn't realize this, but on the back end, you also have to change the language of the code. So I thought it was
Oh,
just use Google Translate, and they said that no. But that's another reason. If you're cool with it, I'll tell you why we did, or I'll touch on why we kept it as a web-based application right now.
yeah,
Is
absolutely.
because if someone is able, if someone is a non-English speaker and they own a gym here and they're wanting to set all their stuff up, they could use Google Translate and it'll convert the app into their language to where they can go in and put it in. But
Oh, that's
also,
cool.
yeah, and another reason was I know how big of a pain it is for me to put stuff in on my phone. So I can only imagine a seasoned gym owner sitting there cussing me while they're putting it in on their phone. So I was like, let's do it on a laptop. Let's keep it web based for a while. Um, I think eventually there's talks. We're looking at doing a mobile application that'll be for the athlete. So that's something that we're looking at. I don't know how far down the road that'll be, but because the other part of this, man, is I had no idea how much financials it took to build an app, and it's a it was a pretty quick process to get where we're at now. But now it's going to be somewhat of a slow burn. So we're doing as good. Like we've got a lot. There's a lot on our plate to go, and that's the cool thing about being kind of first to market is there's just a lot of stuff for you to do. But it's trying to
Yeah.
find out. What I'm really big on is focusing on what the customer wants, not like I've been involved in businesses in so many different realms that the person who came up with the company, it was their vision, and that didn't always relate well to the customer base. So I'm just trying to be okay with, that wasn't a good idea, Tyler. Back up. Let's do this.
Yeah, no, that makes sense, man. I think it's so cool. I love that you're breaking ground on this. That's what I call it, and I just think it's so cool to hear your story, and it really is a story of resilience, right? Like where you've gone through your trials, your tribulations, and you've never let that really slow you down. Kind of coming back to the mat a little bit, what are some of the challenges that you've experienced? I know we talked a little bit offline about, I think you went in and you kind of were observing some classes for a little bit and just kind of trying to stay active in it and everything. What were some of the challenges during those periods where you couldn't train and you got that itch? What were you kind of doing to kind of supplement that?
Yeah. So, like I was telling you earlier, like I had to spend a lot of time on the sidelines watching people. And in fact, one thing that stunk was John Carlo came and did a seminar, and I could not participate. So I got to help
Uh,
check people in, and then I watched it. And I mean, that was cool. It was really cool to soak that in. But I was like, oh, I just want to be out there. But so what I would do is I would take a running vest that had about 30 pounds on it, and I would do a lot of squats. I would walk up and down my driveway. So I live in the mountains, so my driveway's got a pretty good steepness to it. So I'd walk up and down that thing. I'd go for jogs in it. I wasn't really allowed to do a whole lot of upper body stuff, so I would do core workouts like, and then I do so many squats, so many wall sits, so many lunges, all with that was weighted. And then everywhere, like if I'd walk down to the mailbox, I'd throw that thing on. Um,
wow.
and then I do a lot of core stuff, just flutter kicks, bicycle crunches, stuff like that. and then I just go through our standard workout from Gracie Barra. Like I would do that as many times as I could, and then but then I remember like when I finally got back out on the mat, I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be okay. Whew. It's still there's still something about it, man. Like the I think mat health being in like mat shape is a whole different ball game, and
Yes.
it's tough to get to it. And unfortunately, like you can lose it pretty quick from being out. But man, once you get back out there and you get back to riding the bike, if you will, it comes back. I think it comes back pretty quick.
No, that's incredible. Yeah, I've firsthand experienced it and people talk about it all the time, but there's being in shape and then there's being in jujitsu shape. And I don't care how in shape you are, jujitsu will test that all day long. And then there's
Yeah.
competition shape. That's the new shape that I found. Competition shape's a whole nother shape.
Oh,
Uh,
dude, I tell people all the time if there was one shape I could be in and stay in, it would be in wrestler shape because it's
ooh,
you know what I
ooh.
mean. Those dudes, they're just because like what I loved about a jiu-jitsu tournament is I'd go in the night before, weigh in, I'm good, and I would go put those pounds back on. But when I was wrestling, it was I got checked the morning of, checked right before, and then checked throughout the day. And then if it was a 2 day tournament, you had to maintain that weight, and that is taxing. So, but those dudettes are still out there on the mat, just going nuts. So if I could get into a shape, I'd love to be in wrestler shape, but I'm just going to do my best. And I feel like at 39, I'm doing really well to be in jujitsu shape. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's
because
incredible, man.
well, to your point, man,
Um,
like being in that level of shape, you're still in a very high percentage of people. There's not a lot of folks that are in jujitsu shape.
yeah. And you know what's cool is so I did an interview, and if you ever go back and God help you if you ever listen to any of these, but I did an episode. So one of my good friends that I train with, his name is Bruce, and he's 73 years old, and he started jujitsu at 72. And Bruce is we've all heard of Jiu-Jitsu Grandma. Well, I think Bruce is Jiu-Jitsu Grandpa officially. We just haven't gotten him out there yet. Incredible individual. He's phenomenal. He's one of the hardest workers. I mean, it doesn't matter what the training regimen is. He's the last person that's going to make an excuse for why it's not going to get done or why he's not going to stick it out all the rounds and everything. I think so highly of Bruce, and everybody in our gym and our community does. But to get to the point on that, I think what I love about it is like we're talking about how we're in shape and we're in jujitsu shape. I always tell people, I was like, don't let that intimidate you from coming to jujitsu though, because I've
Absolutely.
seen power lifters and marathon runners come in and for their trial class and get gassed, and then I've seen people that stick with it that come extremely out of shape and get there. And so jujitsu, as my coach always says, is it's for anybody, but it's not for everybody.
Yeah. It's for anyone, not everyone. I agree with that
Yep.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
And to your point, I think it can get you in shape, or my experience has been it gets you in shape a lot quicker. And I hate a treadmill. I hate them. Um, I've got a stationary bike. That was the other thing I could do is I could get on that daggum bike and ride, and I hate it. There are times where I'm like, yeah, I'd like to go, lift a little bit, but there's never a time where I'm like, I don't want to be out on the mat because even when like you get gassed and you get absolutely wore out. Like I've had a runner's high. I grew up running, but they can say whatever they want. A runner's high don't touch a jiu-jitsu high. Like a 2 hour Saturday, 2 hour open mat roll, and you get done and you're laying there at the end of it, and that first sip of water hits, boy. I mean, I think it's what heaven's going to be like. No, I don't know. It's it's something else, man. There's nothing like a jujitsu high, and I'll go to the grave on that one. That's a hill I will die
Oh,
on.
and not just physically, but like mentally where you're at after that too.
Yeah, dude, I can tell, and this is probably talking about where I need to fix some stuff in my life, but I can tell when like I haven't trained for like this is terrible. So if it's over 3 days of not getting on the mat, like I'm a jerk. And
Same.
dude, it's like yeah. So it's like today, my sons are home sick, and I was like, I'm gonna go train at noon. I didn't get to, And I was like, but I was also, I'm fine. I'm not upset about it, but I'll be going tomorrow. And I'm actually trying to figure out in my head, could I go at the 7 a.m. and then show back up at the 12? Like, will that be all right? Because there was a time, man, where I was getting to train about 5 days a week, and that is the best I have ever felt in my life.
Wow. That's all. I mean, I've done it before, like 1 week. I challenged myself that I was going to try to go 7 days a week. I made it five. And so to get to that point, that's incredible. That takes a lot of work too. Takes a lot
Oh,
of work.
I probably went through about 10 pounds of Epsom salt, taking baths every night. A buddy makes fun of me. He says, "Did you take your Epsom salt bath like an old grandma and read some Danielle Steele novels?" And I was like, "I might, you know, I need to do something." I was hurting.
Right after my nightcap of prune juice, thank you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
That's good
no,
stuff.
that's awesome, man. Yeah, I'm the exact same way. So my wife, we have a term in the house where if I'm getting like so city traffic kind of stresses me out. I'm not shy about that. I hate driving in the city. And so she's always like, if I have to spend too long in traffic, she's like, you need to go to jujitsu tonight. I was like, yep. And so that's always
Yep,
kind of like become our thing is if work's stressing me out or anything, and I go back like a new person. Like I went to like a 5-star resort and got like the spa treatment of a lifetime. That's what jujitsu is essentially done to my brain.
yeah. No, dude, that's exactly, yeah. And it makes me think of how much kinder our society would be if more people trained.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know what your take is. I've always liked to explore that. I've talked about it with people. Why do you think something I'm not gonna say violent. I don't like using the word violent with jujitsu, but that has the potential to give a person a skill set that could deal and handle with violence. Why do you think it makes them so peaceful?
Well, I'm going to quote Jordan Peter. Was it Jordan Peterson? Did he's the one that said that to be peaceful, you have to be capable of great violence,
Yep.
and otherwise you're not a threat. Because if you're like you can say you're peaceful, and if you're not able to do anything about it, you're really not that much of a threat. But I think the other part of it is is we know what it takes to actually have to do it, and like you really are going to be selective of, do I really want to get into this? Do I really, and honest to God, like a lot of people could probably deal with that person and know like that's the altercation could occur with outside of the gym, and like it could honestly be a 30-second and that's ball game for them, best case scenario for them. um, but it's also like you think about what all that takes, and it's also the other part of, I think you become more introspective of, so where it made me really like look at myself is I would go for moves when I hadn't taken the time to prepare and set up for it. I was looking for submission over position, right? And I was being very just like um, impulsive, right? I'd be impulsive. And when I have impulsive roles, I realize that's when my jujitsu is horrible. And I'm a bad training partner. I'm bad at jujitsu. But when I'm able to slow down and think about some stuff and shut my mind off to focus on the being right there, it makes me start doing that in other times, like when there's tense situations or someone's getting heated or somebody's getting hot. It's like I sit there and think, well, I wonder what's going on. Like here lately, where we're at after the hurricane, for the first few weeks, everybody, it was a very cool thing to see how people were taking care of their neighbors. But then, as is the way of the world, that faded, and people went back to being difficult. And it's given me a lot of opportunity to sit there and just think, why is this person this upset, or why are they, like from somebody driving like a fool, honking their horn at you, riding their tail while you're driving. It's just like, well, maybe they really need his bathroom. Maybe they really need to get home. Maybe they're headed to the hospital. Maybe there's some other stuff. So I just like, it makes me just be like, I'm just going to ease off. Um, because if the time of me having to be violent arises, I don't want it to be over some dude over road
Some
rage,
something
you know?
stupid. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'd
Yep.
rather it be for if those commies ever think they want to make it here. That's what I'm saving it for.
Yeah, right. Like I'm always thinking like go Wolverines, right? Red
That's
Dawn.
exactly right. Yeah. I practiced with my deer rifle, and here I am. I'm just ready to go. No.
Yeah, oh, that's awesome. One thing too, and I hope this isn't too personal, and if it is, by all means, don't answer it, but or just tell me like next question or whatever. But I have people out there they're recovering, they just went through some surgeries or they're going through some life situations. I got to recently kind of follow around and get to know Professor Elserly from Brazil, who is trying to get para jiu-jitsu off the ground, which is an incredible thing, an incredible program. And so there's a lot of people out there with circumstances going through stuff, and you've had a really unique challenge and story with that. What would you tell people that are going through those times where they're off the mat, but they want to be on the mat, but they're going through life and the things that it throws? What would you kind of give to them?
It's kind of like being stuck in side control with a super heavyweight. It's gonna suck for right now. It's gonna suck, but the end's coming. You're gonna be all right, and one day you're gonna be on his back.
That's
But
awesome.
it is a thing just to sit there and bear in mind that this is temporary, and it gives you I took it as an opportunity for myself to like really study other parts of it, right? So like I started watching a lot of tape on Marcelo, obviously Mikey, people that are like now my build, they're not my level. I couldn't even tie their shoes. So um, there's that opportunity to do that, and then also like when you are recovering, it's really bad to just want to go full bore, but you can also do certain things within respect of your recovery. Um, so you can still be somewhat active. Like I couldn't do the push ups, but I could do the warm up, and I'd do the warm up, and then I'd slide off to the side and watch. And then if it was something where we were working from like closed guard, and they'd let me wrap my cast up, and I'd go out there and I could do that. There are, but it's also my professor was vigilant on. I want you to be safe and healthy, and he would never let me push it. Dakota, our instructor, would never let me push it. So um, I'm hoping that folks that are on the sidelines have that relationship with their professors and their instructors and other people that are going to make sure that they're taking care of themselves. But also just know that, man, this is temporary. You're going to get back out there and you're going to be tapping just as fast as you can in no amount of time, you know? So,
Oh, I love it. No, that's incredible, man. I really appreciate that a lot. Of course I've got somebody in mind that's going through it. They had a pretty nasty bicep tear, and it turned into multiple surgeries and everything like that. But other stories too, and just hearing your story, it's really inspiring just to see how you've overcome some really challenging parts of your life. And I know you had, your faith. You had, like I said before, you had your faith, your family, a number of other things going. But you really, I mean, I love your comeback story too. You've got that innovative spirit. I mean, you're just out there getting it, and I think that's so cool.
yeah,
Um, so I don't mean to, and I could really feel like I could sit and talk to you all night. You
yeah,
you got such a cool story, but I want to be mindful and respectful of your time. So I want to leave kind of the closing bit of it to you. Anything that you want to throw out there about Fighter's Passport, anything like that, the floor is yours, sir.
yeah. Well, I appreciate that, Chris. Thank you for having me on here. This has really been fun. And again, yeah, I could talk all night. My wife would tell you that I have a problem where I just don't know when to shut up. Um, I call it a gift. She doesn't. But yeah, for Fighter's Passport, man, like our goal one of the things is I want to be of the community. I want to be of the space. I don't want to be a caricature of it. And I feel like there are things that pop up that are caricatures of that. So with that in mind, if anyone would like to talk to me or has any ideas or critiques or anything like that, feel free to reach out to me uh, on Instagram at Fighters Passport, Tyler at Fighters Passport. Any email you send to anything at fighterspassport.com is coming to me. So just come on. But I'd also like to just encourage folks. I know a lot of people when they get into jiu-jitsu, it's tough. I know I struggle with imposter syndrome quite a bit. Like, oh, I shouldn't be out here. I struggle with it so many different aspects of my life. But what's amazing is the top tier people at my gym are the ones that keep telling me, keep showing up, just keep coming. Adversity is always going to come in your life. It's how you respond to adversity that matters. And I think jujitsu uh, Jesus and jujitsu, they really help you learn how to do that. And I would like, I don't, if you're cool with this, my
Yeah.
professor is, he's going through, right now he's at Duke University. He had acute myeloid leukemia last year. He finished treatment and then he went, fell out of, he relapsed. He went, the leukemia came back. So he's at Duke right now. Last week he received a stem cell bone marrow transplant, and he's about a couple days into that. So if people could just keep Josh in your prayers. Josh Trampus is his name. He's the professor at Gracie Ball Asheville. He is one of the best human beings there is. It's an honor for me to know him. So if y'all could, if you get nothing out of this podcast, if you would just pray for Josh and remember folks that in our community that are having a hard time right now, and just be kind. That's all really I got, Chris.
Is there last little bit there, and I say this genuinely sincerity and a free will, but is there anything that the community, the jiu-jitsu community, can do to support Josh?
Yeah, so we have a GoFundMe. I'll post it. It'll be on our Gracie Ball Asheville that mm, on our Instagram. Sorry, I have to think about all the things. Or you can email me and I can get it to folks. But also, man, like Josh he's not going to ask people for help. That's just how he is. He's stubborn. Um, and I tell him that all the time because right now he's in a weakened state, so he can't beat me up. And by the time he gets out, I like my odds for about 2 seconds. Um, but no, if they could, like, if you have the ability to reach out to our page, Gracie Ball Asheville, and like just write Josh a note, like encouraging them, send stuff to me, I'll send it to them because that's the most difficult thing when someone's going through a hard time is physically, man, we can handle a lot, but up here it's hard uh, to keep stuff at bay, if you will, and it's really nice to know people actually give a crap. And a thing I think is kind of I feel like it's a cop out, but some people are like, I just don't want to bother you. You're not bothering them. They're literally sitting there going through treatment, and they would love nothing more than to hear from people. So yeah, if folks could keep them in your thoughts, keep them in your prayers, or reach out, that'd be really cool. We've had a lot of really cool folks in the space have FaceTimed them, left them messages. Marcelo FaceTimed him from a tournament, which was really, really cool. Jocko sent him a thing. Uh, Carlos Gracie Jr. sent him a thing. Like, there's been really cool stuff like that. But and also, man, like I'll plug them right now. And I don't know if you're familiar with them, but Tap Cancer Out is one of the best organizations there is, and it would mean
Yes.
the world to Josh if you would donate blood donate plasma and participate in Tap Cancer Out because that's an organization that the proof is in the pudding for what they do. Um, when I was going through osteosarcoma, one of the organizations that raised money was Alex's Lemonade Stand, and one of their biggest benefactors has been Tap Cancer Out. And I got the privilege of meeting John at Jiu Jitsu Con and talking to him and his folks, and a great organization. So I encourage anybody, even regardless of knowing anybody going through it, that is an organization to reach out to, and that's why I had the CJI hat on, is because they raised a lot of money for cancer at that thing, and so
I love
you
that.
know, yeah, it's awesome.
And I'll throw this out there. I know he's probably got a lot of time on his hands. If he feels comfortable with it, he's always welcome to jump on too and share his story, or
Yeah,
just sit and laugh with me for a little bit, or make fun of me, and he can just yeah, that's really what you can take away from it. Just make fun of me for a while,
I'll tell you
but
what he'd like to do, Chris, is get video of me rolling, and you two just critique it, um, because that's all
let's
he's gonna do.
That's awesome. I love it, but I feel like you need to be present for that. It's not fair to critique and not have the person present. So I
Uh,
would love to do something like that. But you tell them, number one, we're gonna do everything we can to support. I'm gonna throw it out there. A couple things. First thing I'm gonna do when I get off here, I'm gonna go check out Fighter's Passport. I'm gonna register because Christmas is coming up. I'm going up for the holidays. I'm getting ready to move, like a permanent move, to a place I've never been, and I want to find a gym to train. So I'm going to use this, and I will actively tell you that this is something that will benefit you, whether you travel, whether you're going for the holidays, whatever it is. Maybe you're just thinking about trying jujitsu and you want to know what's in your area. Highly recommend checking this out. I'm going to my friends out there or the people out there that are gym owners. Consider registering your gym. I'm not trying to tell you what to do, but it's a good idea. And then, as a jiu-jitsu community, we've had a number of people where we've come together as a community and supported people going through hard times. And it sounds like Professor Josh is one of those individuals right now that's got that fighter spirit, but he needs his team to rally around him. So if you guys would go check out Gracie Baja, Asheville, North Carolina. Hit him up, shoot him a positive message. If you have the means, if it's in your power to, throw him some GoFundMe love, that's your prerogative, your perspective. I try not to do any thing like that, but I think just more than anything, like Josh said, if you're the praying type, some prayer would be appreciated, and I'm sure he'd love to hear from you. So, Josh, any closing thoughts, sir?
No, I'm good.
Cool. As always, thank you guys so much, Josh. Thank you. I'm sorry, Josh. Tyler. I have
It's
Josh on my
okay.
brain.
That's
Tyler,
the,
thank
that's
you.
that's the biggest compliment he's ever got.
That's awesome. Tyler, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate the time, man. Genuinely has been a lot of fun. I feel like there might be a part two to this at some point. I've had a lot of
Yeah.
fun with this. I haven't done interviews for a while. It's something I want to get back on, so I'm lining up the schedule and everything. But I forgot how much I love doing interviews. But dude, what you're doing is incredible. I love your story. Keep doing it. And thank you so much for everything. To everyone out there listening, keep training hard. Go take care of each other. Don't give up, especially when it's hard. And if all else fails, don't forget to tap. Bye, guys.
That's exactly right.